And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. While there were many impressive moments in both the main event and the kids' table debates last night, there was, as usual, no shortage of statements that requires some, shall we say, further examination. We thought we would highlight just a few of the more fanciful claims of the candidates to see if they can pass the truth test. You can play along with us by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. First up, Trump gambles on calling out Jeb Bush when it comes to gambling in the great state of Florida.
The one guy that had some special interest that I know of that tried to get me to change my views on something that was generous and gave me money was Donald Trump. He wanted casino gambling in Florida.
I didn't want it.
Yes, you did.
Totally false.
You wanted it, and you didn't get it because I was
it.
opposed to casino gambling before, during, and after. And that's not, I'm not going to be bought by anybody.
I promise, if I wanted it, I would have got it.
Well, not so much there, Donald. In 1998, while Lawton Childs was still the governor of Florida, Trump joined with the Seminole Indian tribe to bring gambling to the state of Florida, and the two of them together hired a high-powered lobbyist to pursue their goals. Trump then held a fundraiser for Jeb Bush, expecting him to become the next governor, which in fact he did. The problem is that when Bush won, he rejected the idea of gambling in his state, and the Trump Indian bid went away. So, guys, let's start with you, Joe. Who is fibbing here?
Trump says that, no, he really didn't go after it, and you can't prove the fact that he wanted gambling. Yeah, he gave some money, big deal, but you can't connect it back. That's what he said on Morning Joe today, and they completely bought it.
They did?
Yeah.
Well, that figures. We don't buy it so easily.
He muddied the waters enough.
I don't buy it at all, but it doesn't matter. The interesting thing about him, he said, if I had wanted it, I would have gotten it. Yeah. That is so profoundly narcissistic. He talks about who do you want to have access to the codes. That's not the personality you want to have access to the codes or to being our commander-in-chief. There are things he does get right. But that, if I would have wanted it, I would have gotten it. He's not running for king of the world. He's running for president.
I hated that question, by the way. About
Why?
Would you want Donald Trump to have his nuclear codes? Because the implication is that he is crazy. That is the implication. Do you want him anywhere near the button?
No.
That's exactly what that means.
He's not Dr. Strangelove, and that's probably
question.
unfair. But he is profoundly narcissistic, and if he can look at Jeb Bush, whether he's telling the truth or not, and I don't think
it doesn't mean he's going to bring the apocalypse on us.
I agree. He's not going to bring the apocalypse, but he does actually think there's no difference in what he wants and what should be.
Let's go to the Trump Council here.
Well, having a degree in psychology, I will tell you that the best way to measure how narcissistic somebody is that they do a lot of things. A lot of things that people would like to do, but when you look at the substance of what they've done, there's very little substance there. And I think
what does that mean? Did Trump tell the truth last night or not?
When you look at what Trump does, well, I'm just saying this about him being a narcissist. When you look at Trump and the things that he's done some amazing stuff as a businessman.
I'm not talking about that. Did he want gambling?
What I think in this case, what appeared to me is that the way you just explained it, when Jeb Bush came on, he just didn't pursue it anymore.
You're becoming a politician, Gillum. You totally circumvented that.
I learned from this
we'll
guy.
let him get away with it. It was absolute nonsense. He had it absolutely wrong last night. He did want gambling. Next up, Carly Fiorina and Trump did exchange a few words on their past business successes or lack thereof.
But as for the firing, I have been very honest about this from the day it happened. When you challenge the status quo, you make enemies. I made a few. Steve Jobs told me that when he called me the day I was fired to say, hey, been there, done that twice. It's also true that the man that led my firing, Tom Perkins, just took out a full-page ad in the New York Times to say he was wrong, I was right, I was a terrific CEO, the board was dysfunctional.
So I only say this, she can't run any of my companies. That I can tell you.
Okay, so Carly went on to point out that Trump declared bankruptcy 4 times. We'll let the politician here, Jonathan Gillum, start this one up. Who's telling the truth and who isn't?
Well, I think Carly Fiorina, when she's comparing herself to Steve Jobs created an entire company and has changed the world. Carly Fiorina didn't quite do that. And I think that all these people that were on there, one thing that we definitely saw is they were pumping themselves way up, and according to each one of them, they're like Superman or woman.
Brad.
Look, here Trump I'm going to defend. He never declared personal bankruptcy. 4 of the ventures he was involved in did throw bankruptcy reorganization. That is the law. It's good business. He protected his shareholders. So technically he is right on this one more than on the Seminole Indian one.
The comparison to Steve Jobs comes from Fiorina because Steve Jobs was ousted by his board. And Walt Disney was ousted by his board. So when people say, well, Carly was ousted by her board, Okay.
The answer is they both told the truth and they both lied. Fiorina completely blew it at HP because she bought a company, Compaq, long after they should have. It was at the peak price. But what Trump lied when he talked about Lucent, because Fiorina was wildly successful as the CEO of Lucent. Yes, Trump declared bankruptcy 4 times, not personally, as one of you pointed out, corporately, but he also stiffed a lot of people in Atlantic City on his way out of town. So they were both kind of playing with it, if you ask me.
Well, hopefully we can talk about Hillary Clinton's accomplishments in business,
well,
or even
we'll
as a Secretary of
one
State or a senator
days.
sometime.
Right. What do you, who do you think won last night's debate? Go to newsmaxpoll.com and cast your vote. Coming up next, Ann Coulter said something beyond offensive last night. She did it on Twitter. We're going to tell you what it was right after the break.